Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB Bikini Pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Today, we are speaking with a registered veterinary technician who moved to Maryland to work at the National Institute of Health in the Tuberculosis Research Section and is now moving into online coaching for lifestyle clients and competitors, as well as doing posing lessons. She started competing in 2018 and earned her pro card at Junior Nationals this year, 2023, which was her 12th show and 6th national show. Prior to competing, she had little to no athletic background or knowledge and really built herself from the ground up. I'm personally really excited about this one. So welcome to the show, Ally Vattauer. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. It's really been a dream of mine to be on this podcast. So I was very excited when I got this request to come on here. I was like, yes, let's do it today. Like I was ready.
I know you scheduled yours so soon, which made me really happy too, because I'm like, I know people are dying to actually listen. So I'm excited that you're here.
I'm flattered. I really am honored. It's amazing. I'm so excited.
Oh, good. Well, this will be fun. And to anyone listening, I want to let you guys know we're also doing a video. So if you want to watch this conversation, go to YouTube, celestial_fit. If you're listening right away, it'll be at the top of the channel. If not, just go to the podcast category and you should be able to find it there. Of course, you can always DM me for the video link. I'm happy to send it over to you guys. But let's just jump in, Ally. You already know I got to ask you, is there anything you do or think about right before your heel hits the stage?
Yes, ma'am. So I actually have gone through this like quite a few times. Every single time that I've gone on stage, actually, where I just sit there and I listen to the music and I start getting really into it. And I go, why am I nervous? Why am I nervous about this? Who should be nervous? This is what I'm here for, you know? And I go through this little like talk with myself as to like, the only people that matter are you and the judges. And really, you don't even really know those judges. So why are you nervous? Don't shake. Don't be nervous. Just go up there, do what you do best, and just like show up. You know, that's kind of the pre-talk that I have with myself before I go on stage. And it's worked for me every single time. Not every single time, but more in the more recent times, as in the past like year and a half to 2 years, that's worked, where I'm not even shaking when I go on stage. I'm just happy to be there.
Well, it's interesting you said that first, because what I noticed in your posing routine, like personally, I'm just going to be straightforward. You have one of the best posing routines I have seen in a very long time, like from an amateur going pro level. Like you have so much composure on stage. Your stage presence is so captivating. Watching your video was so cool. Like it was literal perfection. And I know a lot of the questions I got too were actually related to your confidence. So let's dive into that before I start talking about your prep right now. But what is it that helped you to gain that confidence aside from telling yourself, you know, there's really no reason to be nervous? What else did you do or have you done to really create a more confident stage presence?
You know, it's so weird. I don't even have like a straightforward answer for it. I know when I first started, I was looking up YouTube videos of people that I can't even tell you who I was looking up because I don't know who they are. But if I was like bikini posing YouTube, that's what I was looking up. And I was trying to do everything myself. I was literally trying to like put together these poses myself and like do all this stuff myself. And over time, like moving into like my first competition, and I was like, I can't do this myself. I need a posing coach. I need somebody. So I hired my first coach. And from there, I mean, I really just drew inspiration from people that I don't want to say that I like look up to in this sport, because we are all the same people, but I very much admired their whole the way that they like presented themselves on stage. And those are people like Angelica Teixeira and Jazzy Fresh. So like Jasmine Gonzalez, they were like my biggest inspirations in like how I do my posing. Angelica Teixeira like was my like first and foremost though, and I definitely loved her like sprightfulness and her like beauty and just joy that she exudes in everything that has to do with her posing. And same with Jazzy, like she just exudes this like happiness that she's just on stage and she's like, here I am, this is who I am. And that's kind of where I draw that like that inspiration and how I kind of model my own posing off of that. I just show up and I'm just like, this is me, this is who I am. I just aim to really like present myself in that way.
I love to hear about who is inspiring to who and how you can sometimes see that. And other times you don't see the similarities, but you can tell like they're very inspiring. And I used to watch like in my preps, I will still do this, I'm just not in prep now, but I'll watch like all the Olympia previews or replays and all of the Arnold replays. And like, I like it too because they'll like scan a lot of the times the physique. So you can see a lot of the angles. You know what I'm talking about? And like
you can literally see like how their feet are placed and how their knee is turned and how their shoulders are turned. Yeah, you can see a lot of those little details that really do kind of make a big difference in posing.
Seriously. So it sounds like for you, it was a lot of really establishing your own presence, but looking at others who exuded a similar energy to what you wanted to exude.
Exactly. So people that like I felt like I can relate to in their posing and that, yes, exactly. Just like that. And it's happened over years, you know, this wasn't something that was like overnight. I watched a video and I was like, oh, there it is. My first posing, I am like secondhand embarrassment with myself in my first and I, you know, the arm movements and like the exaggerated like hip turning, swinging and everything. And like, yeah, I mean, I definitely have come a long way, but it happens over time where you just got to find like who you are and what you want to be, you know, what you want to look like on stage in front of people. So, yeah.
Definitely. It's, you know, it's interesting too because I'll watch people pose now and I can see their poise. But when I was a beginner competitor, I overdid every move. So it created that like too muchness, you could say. So I know exactly what you're talking about when you're like the over hips, the over flailing. Like,
Yes.
I think we all
like, oh, I'm coming out, I'm saucy. I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Like I deserve to win. And then you look back, you're like, I can't ever watch this video again in my life.
This is definitely more that's just that.
Yeah, I think the most cringy for me was I loved it so much my first time. I think I winked at one point. And I'm like, I'm like, ew, I'll never ever look at this video again. But it's okay. We all have to have a moment of it's like our rite of passage.
We all start somewhere. We have to go through that.
Yeah, so you are getting into posing coaching now. So let's talk about a first timer. What would be your advice to someone who is starting for the first time looking into posing? You had started on your own and it took you some time to actually develop a posing coach. Now you are coaching. So why is that valuable for someone who's new into this to look into getting?
I think that it helps to have, I mean, obviously where I was like trying to do it on my own, I was like, I don't know anything. So I need help from somebody that might have experience, that might have like some pointers that I'm not really thinking about. So that's a really reason why it's valuable is that you can watch videos, but you're going to see somebody, you're going to work with somebody who has actual pointers that can actually help you. Like I said earlier, like how your feet are turned in a certain position or how your knees are positioned in like in your front pose or how your hand is, even down to like that detail of like how your hand is turned versus like even in your back pose, things like that not a lot of people may think about. And especially if you're not even watching yourself, you're not able to see yourself, you have somebody that's giving you those pointers instead. So that is definitely very helpful to have somebody else's eyes on your posing and helping you come up with a routine too.
That's a good point, actually, because when you're just doing it yourself, standing in front of a mirror, what tends to happen is you don't feel as immediately the feedback. You like might watch it back or look at it, but you don't feel it as much. But then when you have someone giving you feedback, they're like telling you to just turn your shoulders and suddenly you feel the impact on your body.
Yes, exactly. And I will like slide in there. My husband helps me like immensely with my posing. It's actually really cute. He'll watch every single posing session and he'll be like, he has these little cues too. So that it goes hand in hand where like he's not my posing coach, obviously, but like he is a second pair of eyes. So it's the same exact thing where like I'm in my back pose, I can't see myself, and he says left shoulder or like don't you're leaning or something like that. So yeah, that always helps.
So true. Like it's sometimes I find like in my front pose, I dip a little bit and I'm really working on like bringing it up. Sometimes an over exaggerated cue can help you to just think of being straighter.
Exactly. Yes.
So you brought up your husband and his support. So I want to ask you about him. We might as well dive right into that
Yes.
actually.
Yes.
So you guys have been married since 2015, which I think is that correct?
We've been married since 2013.
2013.
2014, sorry, 2014. 14, we met in 2012 and we got married in 2014.
Awesome.
What year was it? Yeah.
Love that. So you guys were actually together before you got into competing.
Yes. So that's the thing is that I was actually just having this conversation with somebody the other day, like at the gym, because they said something. They were like, "Oh, your husband is very supportive of everything that you do." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, 100%." He was the one who was like into the gym when we first met. And I was the one who was like, "Man, when are you coming home? You're gone so long. Like, I don't like this. Like, you're always at the gym." He was like always doing all that. And then we moved. So quick backstory, we're from Arizona too. We're from Tucson. So we're born and raised there, and we met there. And then we moved to Pittsburgh in 2016. And he joined the Army National Guard when we moved to Pittsburgh. And while he was in basic, that's when I had a friend who was like really into working out. She was always at the gym. She kind of started teaching me about like food, and she had me in like the keto diet. It was kind of crazy. It was like crazy time for me doing all these like fad things with her.
Yeah.
And that kind of really got me started into working out, where I was like, oh, I actually kind of like this. It's keeping my mind busy. Like I'm actually able to like focus on something. And so when he got back, he was like, who is this person? Like she's going to the gym all the time. Like this is weird. Like we were going to the gym together. And from there, it kind of just took off. So he's supported me through every single stage, where he was like before he left and I wasn't really into the gym. And then when he came back and he was like, oh, this is actually fun. Now I can go to the gym with her. I can do all this stuff. And then when I had said, well, maybe I want to start competing, because at that time I was like following the Shoe Fairy, Angel Competition, like all these other people on Instagram and all these other competitors. And I was like, oh, I want to look like that. So like, he was like, yeah, okay, sure. Like, let's do it. Why not? Right. Just why not? What else are we doing? And so I went ahead and did it. And he's literally, after the first time where there was an actual like spark where I finally felt like I belonged in something, where I felt like I like really resonated with something, I felt like I just belonged, like the sense of like this, I fit here. And ever since then, he's just kind of been my like rock, my foundation in everything that has to do with bodybuilding. He'll come with me to all the shows. He does my workout, like not my personal workouts he used to, but now he does like and we go to the gym together every single day. He makes the food. He's like the best cook ever. He cooks all of my food, and except for breakfast, because that's my thing. I like to make the breakfast, but he'll make everything else. And everything, like traveling to shows is like a thing of ours. Like we like to kind of make a trip out of it. We're going to, Chattanooga, we've never been there, and we'll like look up things like to do in Chattanooga, or we'll look up like other things that are going on there. If we can make it like a little bit of a longer trip, then we will, and we'll kind of just hang out together and just have it be for us. So it's kind of like a little weekend getaway. Whenever we've been prepping and doing all this stuff for a long time, it's just us. So he's a godsend, and everybody loves him.
Oh, that's
like come to the shows and stuff, and everybody gets to see him and who Emmett is, and they're like, oh, he's so great, blah blah, like have nothing but nice things. And it really helps him. I know, especially after this past time when we went to Chattanooga and we had all these like delays, and he was, you know, like mess of travel that was happening and is still happening for everybody. But he really came through during that time and like handling everything and taking the stress off of me and everything. And I kind of made this like post about it, and I showed him like everything that everybody was saying. And I was like, look, like, it's not just about me, like you play a huge part in everything that happens and all of the success and everything. And that was kind of a big deal to me, to like show him just how loved he is in this whole thing and how important he is in this whole bodybuilding prep scene also, because it is difficult for spouses. I think over time too, they can kind of feel like left out, especially in times of like success that is happening, where now things are really busy, where we're planning pro shows and we're planning like all this travel that we maybe didn't account for at first, that it's kind of like, oh, well, what about me? And so showing him that like he is really important and he has a place in this too. So that was really important to me.
What I appreciate most about that is your ability to communicate the gratitude. You can tell it is really meaningful to you, and he does have such an impact on your journey. And I love how it went from when are you getting home to let's do all of this together. Now I'm a pro and we're planning my season. And he sounds like your rock through it all. And I remember watching your travel snafus, and just everyone was really hoping you'd make it, and it all worked out. And I think him being able to step up when you needed him and do that consistently, like, equipped you guys to work as a team in that moment.
I think over time, yeah, like I think that's a really good way to put it. Like we are just a team, the two of us. Like we really do get through a lot. Like we have been through like so many different situations where we're just such a good team together. He really balances me out. He's never upset. I'm like always the one who's like moody and everything. And he's always just like so level-headed that like he really just balances everything. Like it's just a nice, calm, everything's calm with him.
That's so cool. Did anything change in your relationship when you did decide to start competing? Like you said, you found your place, it was the right fit for you, but it wasn't what you were doing before. So how did you guys keep the relationship balance, if you want to say that?
I would say like we got married when we were really young. I was only 20 and he was
Wow.
20. So yeah, we've been married for quite a long time. And I always say this to people because people are always like, oh, you were really young. Well, we must be doing something right because we're still together. So it's that it never goes without like problems. But I think that the thing was that we got married so young that we've been able to kind of grow with each other over the years. And it wasn't such like and he is really one of a kind to be like so understanding of a lot of different things. Like he's just, sometimes I'm just floored by how his brain works and how like understanding he is with things, that is also him as a person. But I think it's helped that we've kind of grown together over the years through this stuff, that he's just great.
You mentioned something earlier too about how everyone just loves him and how he's a part of this for you. And I also imagine other women seeing that relationship display and that support display helps them to see that a standard of a supportive partner is possible and it is okay to want that.
Yes, agreed. Yes. And I don't think that it's a problem to ask for that. It's just that I think I don't want to speak for other people, obviously, because I'm not in that situation. But when there are times when I think in this sport that it can be difficult for the men, where we're, walking around, we're on social media, we're obviously like flaunting our bodies in a way that may be uncomfortable for them. And that I think that just takes a lot of understanding on both parts, that there has to be a lot of communication and a lot of understanding from both sides, that like we can't just, as women, we can't just be like, well, it's my body, I'm going to do whatever I want with it, and then expect our husbands who have that, relationship with us and want that to be for them. We have to like understand where they're coming from too. So it just takes a little bit of understanding from both sides, and that communication that needs to be kept up.
I really appreciate that perspective too, because there'll be people who disagree with that and a lot of people who do agree with that, which I think is a really great thing that you shared it because I do believe there's an important level of communication and boundaries that has to happen, especially in any industry or any pursuit of success, even business. You know, as you're growing a business, there's a standard of communication that's required to have the support or be successful.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to be like, there's one right way to feel about it and there's a wrong way to feel about it. But I mean, every relationship is different and everybody is going to feel ways about it. And some people are going to be like, yeah, go ahead and do whatever you want. You want to like start an OnlyFans too, and you want to go like be naked on social media. Who cares? Like, it's fine.
Yep.
But like, there are those people that are going to have something to say about it. And I think that, that is your partner, you kind of have to have that conversation with them.
And when you're growing into the industry together and you start getting exposed to the norms of a certain industry, it can lead you to question like, am I doing enough in the industry or should I be doing more? Or is this going to be something I participate in or not? And that doesn't mean necessarily that you do or you don't have to, but I've personally found the more invested I've become in the sport and the industry, you start to kind of realize this is what I'm comfortable with versus not.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I did want to talk a little bit more about the travel because this is something you guys really enjoy doing together. And I've
Yeah.
enjoyed seeing some of your highlights from past experiences too. I think it's so cool that you guys make trips out of the shows. I think that's such a nice thing for especially fit couples like yourselves. You're both fit, you're both in shape, you both enjoy the lifestyle. So how do you approach traveling when in prep or post shows that might be different than maybe if you weren't a competitor?
Oh my gosh, this is so funny because I was just like out walking my dogs with Emmett, and I was just like, man, I feel like we have so many things that we have to do before we leave this weekend. And I would say that traveling while in prep is definitely a journey. It's a lot. There's no question about it, but there is ways to deal with it to like make it successful for yourself. And now we've done it so many times that it's like not really a thing for us anymore. I mean, it takes a bit of planning. Yeah, you have to put a bit of forethought into it. You can't just be like, well, we're gonna go tomorrow and then head out the door. It's gonna be a little bit more difficult than that. So like every single time that we go travel somewhere, we will pack all of our proteins. Like we make all of our proteins, and I will simplify my meals a lot to travel. So I'll cut out, like, say I have like something with tomatoes or something in it, I'll cut the tomatoes out because then I can just make something with rice and a meat and maybe a vegetable, but that's not something like tomatoes. Like I can throw broccoli in it or something like that. So we cook all of our proteins beforehand, we freeze them, and then we pack them in our suitcases in like a little lunchbox. So I just pack enough food for like whatever trip we're going on. And then I pack it in a little lunchbox, and then that's that. I put them in like Ziploc bags, freeze it, lunchbox. And then when we get somewhere, oh, and I'll also pack like all the dry stuff. So I'll pack like cinnamon, salt, I don't know, oats, cream of rice, things like that. I'll put them in like bags. And I have scoopers, like little protein scoopers. Those come in real clutch when you can like scoop out the like cream of rice and oats and stuff. So that's really helpful. And any other like dry things, like if we take cereals or things like that, then we'll put them in bags, and I'll just kind of try to pack them all together with like the proteins and stuff. And then when we get somewhere, then we go grocery shopping, and the grocery shopping is like very minimal. Like we're not getting like a whole week's worth of groceries. Like if we eat any yogurts, we're getting like the smaller yogurts. We're getting like any kind of rice cakes that need to be brought, like because I don't like broken rice cakes. It's kind of like a pet peeve of mine. So I won't take rice cakes. I'll buy them wherever I go. And then one thing I also did start doing the last time I was traveling was putting my nut butters and stuff in the like travel shampoo bottles.
Smart.
Yeah, you can put that stuff in like the travel, like the 3-ounce travel shampoo bottles that you can buy from the store. Because you can't take a full like jar with you on the plane or anything, but you can take the travel ones. So yeah.
No idea you could put it in.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so smart. They probably think it's shampoo anyway.
Yeah, no one asked about it. So if you're going on a short trip, you can do something like that. Or if you're going to be eating a lot of it, then I just go buy it like at the store. I'll just go like get whatever. But in order to save some money and stuff, if you're trying not to buy nut butters that you can't really bring back with you, or you don't want to pack in your suitcase, you can do the little travel things. So yeah, I mean, it planning goes into it, but there are definitely ways. And like, I literally in Chattanooga, we bought a microwave. I'm not even kidding you. Like
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't have a microwave in our room, and I didn't want to walk or like go to like the third floor because I was microwaving a bunch of food. So we bought a $50 microwave from Walmart and we put it in our room and we used it. And then we left it because we didn't have time to return it. So
Yeah.
yeah. So there are ways around it, but yeah, it's a time for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, I think you bring up some really good points. Prep just requires another layer of planning. And I like how you simplified it. You gave us a lot of tips. Some of those I haven't heard before, especially the nut butter one. I thought that was great. And yeah, and I also think it'd be interesting to hear how you travel when you're not in prep. Like, is it different or do you do the same things?
So actually, my husband and I went on a trip to North Carolina when I wasn't prepping. So I was actually like off. I was in my off season, but I was still following like macros. I was still counting a lot of my foods. I was still like trying to make it work. And if you're like you're really trying to make it work and you're traveling, there's really no excuse to just like throw everything out the window, especially if it's going to be like a week-long trip or something. So we went grocery shopping when we got there and we got all of our foods. We stayed in an Airbnb, so it wasn't like we didn't have like a kitchen or anything. And there are definitely a lot of different ways to work around that. Like Costco has these bags of chicken, like they're pre-cooked like grilled chicken strips that you can buy that have nothing else in it. Like it's just chicken, and that you can literally use for like any of your meals. If you get an Airbnb that has a kitchen, you can cook your proteins while you're there. So yeah, I mean, if I'm not prepping, then I will have meals packed to go on a plane or like some sort of snacks that I've accounted for, and then just grocery shop while I'm there. Cause then it's just like takes all the stress out of packing everything. And I just have meals that I'm going to eat on the plane. And then that's that. If you're driving, so much easier, but
I know,
flying
right?
is a different story.
Yes. Driving, it's like throw it all in the car.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. We packed like 4 different bags. If we're, I don't want to make
yeah.
us sound crazy because it's like so funny. Whenever I'm talking about it, it doesn't sound like anything because, okay, I have that backwards. When I'm thinking about it in my brain, it doesn't sound like anything. When I'm talking about it, I'm like, wow, I sound crazy right now.
Not to me, not to other competitors, honestly.
Yeah, but I mean, when we're driving places, we'll pack a dry bag and we'll pack a frozen bag. So the frozens, like everything, like the meats, everything else that goes in the fridge or something, we'll put that in like a cooler. And then we have a bag that has dry stuff. So like our oats, and I will pack my rice cakes because they're not going on a plane. So the rice cakes, the oats, the cream of rice, the butters, everything goes in that dry bag. And there's 2 separate bags, just like that.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, drive.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. I think that it's important for people to see some of those differences too. Like in prep, everything's, this is what I'm eating, this is what I'm packing, and it's a bit simplified versus, improvement season, very similar, just a little bit of a difference. So I appreciate you breaking those two apart. Now, you are going somewhere exciting this weekend. So talk to us about what's happening.
I'm doing my pro debut. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. You have no idea. It's been such a wild ride to like even think about that and be planning for a pro debut in the same year as turning pro. Because I mean, while I didn't want to say I expected it, but like while I maybe thought it was a possibility to go pro this year, I didn't think that I would be planning pro shows like going right into it. And I'm very happy that I am. I'm very grateful that I get the opportunity to do that. And I wouldn't change it for anything. Like I'm so excited for it. And so this weekend we're going to Austin, Texas for the Republic of Texas. And I'm not gonna lie, I saw the competitors list come out and I my heart skipped a few beats because that is absolute insane lineup. And I'm just happy to be there. I mean, what I keep trying to tell myself is anything past getting a pro card is just a bonus. So,
Mm.
I mean, I'm just happy and along for the ride.
So awesome. Yeah, I mean, you made it to the pro league, which was a goal of yours. I imagine that actually, I don't know. How long were you like really, when did you know you wanted to go pro?
Oh, so funny. I don't think I can actually pinpoint a time. I think I was like when I had first started in 2018, I think back to like my very first competition, and like my goal was just to get on stage. Like my goal was just to like be on a stage. And the show was in a auditorium in Pittsburgh, and it was just like it was such a small show. It was like 4 people in my class, and it was so tiny, and like I was just ecstatic to be there. Like I was just so happy. And then that same year I went to nationals, and I was like just happy to be there. And I was like, dang, this is so cool. Like I'm just like so excited. It's like new. It was like something that I had a goal that I was working towards. And the goal was just to like put the tan on and put the suit on and then get on stage. That was that. And from there, every single year, that goal has just kind of blossomed more and more to where I'm like, I want to be on a pro stage. I want to do a pro routine. I want to be among pros. I want to see how I place among pros. I want to see how I stack up and kind of keep chasing that dream. And now like that I'm there, the goal is obviously changing to like obviously qualify for the Olympia and be on the Olympia stage. So that goal of like being a pro, it's kind of blurry as to when it started, but it has definitely been a couple of years that I've been trying for that.
Sounds like there was a natural progression with your process as an athlete and what you wanted to expect or demand of yourself and see what you could accomplish.
Yeah, definitely. It was more so like and even during the off seasons was a time of me going, okay, what can I do better in the off season? And never losing sight of like competing, obviously, but more so like how can I push myself to be better every single day, with obviously that driving me to becoming a pro and actually having that like more pro mindset of like I just want to live my life this way. This is how I want to do things from here on out. I just want to be a pro. I just want to live like a pro. That's it.
What does living like a pro mean to you?
It's a tough question. Um,
I love that. That always improving, always getting better, striving for more. I'm
yeah.
gonna come back to something you just said, but first, how did you decide? One of our listeners wanted to know this, by the way, that you wanted to go into a pro season because you said yourself you weren't even expecting that.
Yeah. So I decided it when I won the overall. And that it was kind of funny when I was going into that DC backup DC Pro Am where I was going to compete there, and I told my husband, if I win the overall at nationals, I'll go do pro shows. But if I don't, then I'm not going to do it. And so at that point, I was like, okay, there I am, like holding myself to that if it doesn't happen, then I'm not going to go on. I'm just going to stop. But while I was at the DC Pro Am, I had a few people like bugs in my ears going like, well, why don't you just do it? Like, why not? Like, just see how you stack up, just go. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do it. Like, I wouldn't feel right. Like if I just went on just winning my pro card and just going, but like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just how I felt. Like, I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. And then I won the overall and I was like, well, okay, yes, I like eating my words and I'm going to do it because I feel like I should, because I think that people are right, and I think that I should try to see how I stack up against other people. So in reality, I haven't really been prepping that long, so I feel like I still have I have a little bit of gas left in the tank. So it wasn't like I came out of the national show and was like, well, I'm done now, and then decide to jump into pro shows. I had kind of already felt that way whenever I was going into nationals, that I was like, okay, if I win this, I'm going to go on. I'm going to keep going. So that's what I did.
That's super cool. I like that commitment for yourself and really seeing that goal through. And I love to hear you still have some gas in the tank. So are you going to see how you feel after this show? Or are you guys planning some more?
So I have two planned, this one, and then I have Governor's Cup right after. So
That's
I
awesome.
actually was just looking at the deadline to sign the contract and I was like, "Oh, I better go sign." But yeah, that is our plan to go on to Governor's Cup in Sacramento on the 15th. And then after that, that's kind of where it's kind of gray. I'm trying to see how this one goes. I'm actually very interested to see how this one pans out for me. I'm hoping obviously it goes really well because I do want to keep going. But obviously, if it's something like, no, it's just not working out, I'll go to Governor's Cup, and I want to obviously see how that one goes as well because that's going to be another big show, I'm pretty sure. Um, and if it doesn't go well, then I have no problems stepping back and going, okay, that I had a great season. Let's go ahead and go back. And I love off season like so much. So I have no problem. I have a lot, I feel like, to look forward into in the off season. And that also means improvement because improvements for pro shows and improving for this, just because this was such a great year, I feel like I have a lot to look forward to in the off season. So I have no problems if this doesn't go the way that I want it to, stepping back and taking some time off.
I love that. I think sometimes we take for granted the benefits that each season brings. Like when we're in improvement season, we're missing certain parts of prep. When we're in prep, we sometimes miss certain parts of improvement season. And I think there's a lot of benefits to each. I'm curious for you, what is your favorite part of prep and your favorite part of improvement season?
Oh man, my favorite part of prep has to be the structure. I don't even want to say that because like in my off season, this like previous off season, I did have a lot of structure. So I'm not saying that like because I'm in prep that my structure is there and then when I'm in off season it's gone, because I did have quite a bit of structure in my off season that it felt like a prep. So I mean, I was eating more, I had more energy, I wasn't doing as much cardio in the off season. But I guess my favorite part of prep has to be the structure that I have to keep throughout the entire time. Like there's no, it's almost like a it's almost like a video game. If you're playing a video game, you have a lot of lives and then you like you can't mess up any of those lives and you're like in your prep. So it's like you just have to keep going. So that is that. My favorite part of off season, it really has to be the flexibility. I do miss it in preps, and that's I think something that everybody kind of misses. My goals are so big right now that like I can put it on hold. And obviously, like we talked about, I do have like a really good support system to where like I don't feel like I'm missing out per se, but I do miss a lot of the flexibility that you have in an off season where like if your friends invite you out somewhere, like we just had the 4th of July yesterday and our friends had like a barbecue and they had a cookout and I had to go, you know what, I'm in prep for my pro debut. I'm feeling really tired. I don't want to be around barbecue, things like that you know you can't really say yes to in prep. And I mean, I made a post on this like not very long ago about saying yes to those things, but there is also something that I had mentioned in that post saying that like you have to have boundaries, and that is kind of where I had a boundary where I was like, okay, I'm really deep into this, I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling really hungry, that's not really going to put me in a position for success, so I need to just say no. And that's the part where I miss about off season, that saying yes.
Totally. There's really not a lot of reasons to say no in improvement season, whether or not you participate or not. You just feel more like, I think it's more like this versus prep can be a lot of up and down.
Yeah, can be a little volatile sometimes.
Yeah. Well, especially when you're hungry and tired. And you, like you said, I like how you put it, you've got big goals. And so big goals can call for big standards, big boundaries, big, support. So I think it's great you were able to do that. And you did mention that you always want to be better. And you mentioned kids. So I'm curious, is that something you want in the future?
It's something that we've talked about. I've never been somebody that's wanted kids. In fact, I'm an only child. So I grew up an only child. And so it was never really a thing for me. I didn't grow up with like kids in my life. My husband has a very large family. Like they have nieces, nephews. He's got a sister and an older brother, and the sister is younger. So it's she's basically like my sister. We met. And so I could go my whole life without wanting kids. And so if he wants kids, he's got to say so, because other than that, probably not for a little bit. But
Yeah,
yeah.
it was like you said, and for kids, I'm like, oh, is this a conversation?
Maybe sometime, I think we had said it was like a 5-year plan or something like that. But then this happened and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it's like a wait out. If you're my mom would be like, okay, Ollie, like you better hurry up. Like, and if you're his mom, she's like, are you guys having babies yet? Like they're always asking.
Yeah, I bet. I think that's so normal, but I get the clarity now. It sounds like your goals are really focused on competing. And I'm curious how this prep, and actually one of our listeners wanted to know what's been different about this prep compared to past preps of yours or even past shows.
Yeah. So, I think the biggest thing has been the guidance that I have. My coach now, I I really can't say enough good things about her. I feel like we are literally the same person. And so like we're that relationship between us like is very easy. And I feel like I've had a lot of guidance from her through everything. And that means my off season, and because I did join with her like after the end of my season last season. And so yeah, like the guidance that I've gotten from her through my off season and the things that I've kind of learned from her through that have been immensely helpful, and especially into this prep where I feel like I I feel like she takes the emotion out of everything, which has really helped a lot with me, where I look at my body more objectively than I did before, where like I think I can literally pinpoint one time where I had to check in and I was like upset with how I looked because I was like on my period and I was bloated and I was like kind of like pity partying myself like in my check-in. And she was like, okay, well, if it bothers you, then just don't take a picture. Like, what are you worried about? And I was like, oh, well, you're right. Like, why am I worried about this? Fine. And so, yeah, I mean, I just feel that that guidance has really been the difference for me, where I feel like I'm not as emotional as I was before and not driven by emotion. I'm more driven by like the data and the facts and like how things very black and white of how prep is. And this is why this is happening. And I'm understanding why it's happening. And then I'm just letting it go because there's, I can either do something about it or I can't. And so there's that. And yeah, I feel like that's kind of what's made this a lot different from other preps.
I think that's a really great point about taking the emotion out of it or having a coach who can help that. Because if you have a coach who's like feeding into it, like, yeah, like I know it's you don't look as good as you normally look, or oh, it can be upsetting. And it's like better to keep it to data sometimes because it redirects the athlete's focus to the process versus what's being seen.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like in this sport too, it's very easy for us to hyperfixate on things, especially things that like maybe we've been told to fix or things that we have been told to improve on. And that is just not what we need to do. And that it doesn't set us up for like a good, healthy mindset through this whole thing, because we are focused on our bodies, on our physiques, and there's a lot of factors that can influence that, especially as a female. So it is difficult for us to kind of take that emotion out. But I think it's important, very important in this sport to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think something I have shared with a lot of my clients or at events that I've spoken at is this like body image check-in, and like we kind of see where they're at with theirs and how fixated they are. And one of the questions on that is, what do you first look at when you look in the mirror? And I will tell you about 90% will say the body part of which has been the focus from a judge, whether most of them it's like waist, shoulders, glutes. If I ask any bikini competitor, that's generally what they're saying. Some people have answered face, and that comes from maybe past experiences as well. But definitely, like for competitors and athletes, I'm finding most of them can pinpoint that one body part that they've been trying to improve or grow, or maybe they compare to someone else.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I don't want to like say that I don't have these body image days because I do. Absolutely. I especially like coming out of prep, it is so hard. It is so hard. And like going into an off season, like I think when I was going into my second off season, and that was kind of where I think it was COVID was starting and like gyms were shutting down and everything. And I was like, I think some of my lowest points that I've ever been in, where I was like, man, I hate the way I look. I hate everything about myself and I just don't like it. And another credit to my husband here. He was like, Allie, like you need weight. You need weight to improve. You need to gain weight to gain muscle. You can't stay like this. And that kind of pushed me to like feeling, okay, well, then I'm going to shop for things that fit my body the way that I want it to fit my body. I'm not going to hyperfixate on these things that I don't like. Just don't look at it. Just leave it. Just like find something else to say about yourself that you like instead. It's much better than hyperfixating on the things that you don't like. And yeah, that it can be really difficult in this sport for sure.
That's a really good piece of advice. And also, I appreciate you sharing your personal experience with it. And I think it's awesome that your husband was so supportive. And I'm actually curious, like, and you may not have the answer to this, or maybe you don't want to share it, so don't feel obligated. But underneath the body image related concerns, what were you maybe fearing if you did gain weight? Like, was it worthiness? Was it how other people would perceive you, identity?
Yeah, actually, that's a super good question because something I guess I haven't really thought about, but I think it's perception. I think it really comes down to how a lot of the things that we do is they're on social media, right? Like we post about our preps, we post about these things, and we post about our weight loss. Like people see weight loss all the time. And so if what's going to happen if they see weight gain? You know, is that making me does that make me out of control? Does that make me flying off the rails? Does that make me a bad person? Does that make me um contradictory to everything that I've posted on social media before? And it doesn't. It just makes you a human. You know, I think that a lot of times in this sport we are jaded in what we think that a healthy body looks like, and that is not this. That's not this. And we might think that a healthy body looks like ab lines, and it looks like shoulder caps, and it looks like a thin like chiseled face, and it looks like all this stuff, but it's not. And I think that that's where that perception is skewed a lot of times. It's all through social media and how people are going to think of you. But I promise, I literally can't say enough to like just not, it doesn't make you a bad person if you gain a little bit of weight, and it doesn't make you it doesn't contradict anything that you've ever said. You're just a human. That's it.
Peace with food without sacrificing your goals as a competitor, because you deserve to have successful preps, productive improvement seasons, and peace of mind year round. I decided to create a free 8-day food relationship coaching series a few years back that over 800 people have gone through. Because when your head is cluttered with thoughts of food, eating, guilt, you have a lot less energy to invest into the goals that you truly care about. So this free program was designed to help athletes like yourself develop a healthy relationship with food so you can have your most fulfilling and effective preps, improvement seasons, and lifestyle phases as well. This is an 8-day series that has a video every single day, a full workbook to guide you through every single video, and you can respond to the emails with the work you did and receive direct support and guidance from me personally, which is, of course, something I love to provide to the community. So you're not only going to discover your ideal relationship with food, but you'll also identify detrimental thought and behavior patterns. You'll overcome guilt and shame, so every decision can be made with intention and pride. We will use expectations and reinforcements to seamlessly manipulate your behavior around food to be more positive and aligned with that ideal relationship with food. We'll figure out why you're really craving what you are when you're sleep deep in another jar of peanut butter, or justifying that next cookie, or continuously eating endless bags of rice cakes, whatever it is for you. We'll become crystal clear on why you act, think, and live the way you do, so you can, of course, act, think, and live the way you want to. And we'll come up with some personal commitments that are rooted in positive psychology based on your current season. So this is a psychoeducational course. It is free to anyone and everyone. You can access it at www.celestial.fit/food series and learn more about it, as well as even get a sneak peek into the accessible PDF notebook with the extra resources and guidance through every single workshop along the way. If you do decide to participate in it and you love it, of course, I encourage you to share it with a friend or a teammate or another athlete who may be struggling. Or if you hear about someone's struggle, let them know that this exists. I love that so much. I think that's such empowering words to hear from someone like yourself. And given where you're at, speaking from a prep body to an improvement season body as well. And something I went through in the past after I lost my mom, I was still very regimented. It was like tracking all my food and going to the gym. It kept me routine, but I still had a significant amount of weight gained regardless of that. And I remember thinking people will probably think I let myself go. And I made this post about how sometimes in the bodybuilding community, people will see you because you gained weight and they'll say, oh, she must have rebounded. She must have reversed poorly. She must have let herself go. When in reality, at least for me at that time, I was never more like proud of myself and connected as an athlete because I showed up for a version of me that still wanted me to show up when that version going through that didn't.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's always about those personal wins too. Like people say it all the time, social media is a highlight reel. And I can agree with that. Absolutely. Like there's things that I don't want to share with people, but I want to share my wins with people, or I want people to see the happy times. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Like you don't need to share like the sad times with people. Like you don't always need to do that. But you do have to keep in mind, like there's sometimes a lot more that's going on under the surface that you don't know about. And that is not so cut and dry as like, this person just fucked up the reverse or whatever. You know, that's not always the case.
That's so true. That's why I appreciate hearing your perspective as well, because you had to go into that improvement season. And you just mentioned earlier, you're actually looking forward to it too. And you grew a lot. You know, we can't deny the fact that you made the improvements that ultimately brought you back into this season to get what you wanted. So let's talk about improvement season. What did you do that you felt when you finally accepted, okay, yes, I'm ready to gain weight and go through this process? What did you do differently, or what did you do that you felt made this positive impact?
It has to be training structure. Like seriously, I finally felt like I was training with intent. I felt like I was training with intensity also. I went through a lot of like my last season looking up ways to train with intensity, which sounds kind of funny, but like I really wasn't sure how to be training to failure. And I think that's a lot of things that people don't really know how to do. Especially like as somebody who didn't come from an athletic background, I a lot of the times found myself not pushing myself to failure or even close to it. And so where I'm looking up all these YouTube videos on like Jeff Nippard has like a really good one on like how to train to failure. And like that actually really helped me to understand like what I need to be doing. And so, yeah, my training structure changed a lot for this improvement season leading into this season. And I think that was definitely a huge help.
What were some of the things that you did to find, because I'm sure there's others who are like, I don't know what my intensity is. How'd you determine that?
So one thing that I've learned like more recently is like when you think that you can't go anymore, go more. Like just you think you can't do anymore, do another one, like do another rep. See how many of those reps you can get, because just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean you should stop. And so, yeah, that the one tip that I did read about, or what I was watching from like Jeff Nippard, he's my like, I like bread and butter for Jeff Nippert, I guess. He said to record yourself, and what you're looking for is that slowing down of your reps. So you're looking for, like, if you're doing hip thrust and you're really going through those reps really fast, and then towards the end your reps start to slow down, that's where you're getting kind of close to, like, okay, now it's getting harder. And it's when your reps are like really slow, that's where you're really doing the most work. And you want to be pushing yourself to that limit all the time. And you really want to be pushing yourself to almost not being able to complete a rep. That's where you're failing. That's failure. And if you're getting close to that, but you're not actually reaching that point, then you're not really training to failure. So that really helped me. That was one tip that was really good.
That's a great tip. And did you change, like, did you mainly focus on the rep scheme and getting to that point? Or did you also focus on like strength gains and progressing in that regard as well?
So that's the other thing too, is that I feel like a lot of people, a lot of us, a lot of girls, a lot of us, a lot of bodybuilders, we always want to push the weight. And I actually did a lot of work on my technique too. So I did a lot of like stepping back and actually like taking the weight down and actually putting a lot of work into that technique. So how am I lifting that weight? What exactly am I lifting that weight with muscle wise? And just making sure that I'm optimizing that exercise in every way possible before adding more weight, because we love like to lift all the weight. We love to push the weights and everything, but we need to make sure that we're doing it properly so that we're actually targeting the correct muscles. So yeah, that's one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like it shouldn't matter how much you're lifting if you're not performing full range of motion or a healthy range.
Exactly. Yeah. There's mechanical failure and there's technical failure, and you should be reaching both of those properly. So yes, that is that.
So this is somewhat related, but I think it kind of helps with regard to going through improvement seasons and preps. And one of our listeners wanted to know when you personally really started to notice your body composition changes throughout your journey.
Yeah. Well, I will say that it was kind of right away. In my, like, when I first started in like 2018. I will say that like going through a prep, I was actually surprised by like my body composition going through a prep and what I actually like had, like muscle wise. I was a cheerleader in high school, so I didn't do like a ton of stuff, and I was a cheerleader in my sophomore and junior year, part of my senior year, but like it was not as crazy as like in my senior year as it was in like the middle of my high school years. And so I was actually pretty surprised, like coming out of that, how much muscle I actually had in 2018 when I started. And when I went through an off season, like my first off season, I don't think I really noticed much, but from starting a prep to like maybe my second season, that was kind of my lull where I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm like doing stuff. I'm making like a little bit of improvements, but then it was really like my last season, like pretty much the middle, like, or like going into my last season to this season where I was like, whoa, like things are happening. So yeah, I would say like what was it, like 3 years into it, that I'm like, I really started to notice the changes in my body where I was like putting in the work and I'm noticing like actual shape changes.
Hmm. That's really good to know because I think sometimes there's this expectation of I should see it super fast. Sometimes there's that disregard for needing to put on muscle as well. And instead just go straight. I know I personally did that. It was like I didn't even know about newbie gains, and I wish I did because I was like, why I missed it. But then I mean, either way, I think there's been many opportunities in my journey where I've learned something new and you can continue to grow. But I love that you shared, it's not this immediate thing necessarily. You might have things that surprise you, but it does take that consistent effort.
Yep. I think we all want that instant gratification. That doesn't happen here.
Yeah, so let's talk about you becoming a coach because you've shared some really great insights with us throughout the episode so far. So I want to know what inspired you to get into coaching, especially when you have a full-time career as well.
Yes. Yeah. So it's actually it's been a journey for sure. I kind of started feeling this way maybe like a year or so ago where I was like, maybe I want to start getting into online coaching. because I'm feeling like fitness is just pulling me more and more. Like it's like I'm really immersing myself. I'm diving into this entire industry like headfirst, and I really am just wanting to give it everything that I've got. And especially after this year where I'm just like, it really has kind of taken over everything for me. And I want that. Like it's something I put myself in a position for that to happen. And I wanted to keep that happening. So as I like think about it more and more throughout the year, I was like, I really want to like help people that maybe are in the lifestyle portion of things where they're like, I don't know how to start, or they maybe were in a similar position to me where I was like, I want to do this, but I'm just not really sure how. I have the enthusiasm and I really want to get started, but I'm just like not really sure where to start. I wanted to help people with that. I wanted people to know that it's not that difficult, kind of like how I've hopefully come across in this entire episode, where after you do it so many times, or you do it for so many years, that you're like, oh, it's nothing. It's literally second nature to me now. It's not like I'm having to think super hard about it, or I'm like, it stresses me out at all. Like I want to help other people feel that same way that I feel. So that's what pushed me into feeling like, into going into online coaching. And now I'm kind of put in that position where I can start taking clients and I can start like doing things. And I started working with JB Coaching Concepts, where like he's kind of been more of my mentor and he's been helping me through things. So he really kind of like took a chance on me. So it's been really nice to have that and have that guidance through this. I'm not having to do this organically by myself. I'm actually having somebody to like that has that business and has that starting point that is kind of just like helping bring me up through the ranks there, hopefully.
Absolutely. How did you decide on having him as your mentor? Because I understand the team you're on, they expand as well. So I'm curious what guided you down that path.
Ooh, can you repeat that question one more time? My Wi-Fi like froze.
You're good. You're good. How did you decide to work with him as your mentor? Especially when I know the team you're on also has similar opportunities sometimes. I don't know how it works generally, but how did you decide on him?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's funny because like I competed with his wife, Andrea, and he's also a competitor. So like we've kind of like known each other throughout the years, but I actually went to Tampa just to go visit. Like my husband and I went to Tampa and we stayed with them. And while we were there, it just kind of just happened. Like he was just like, hey, I'm looking to bring somebody on as a lifestyle coach. And I know you said that you're trying to coach. Well, why don't we just do this? And that's how it all kind of worked out. So it was just kind of an opportunity that presented itself. And I just kind of took it and we went with it.
That's awesome. I love that. You got to be ready to take the opportunities when you ask for something you want and then it presents itself. It's like, okay, how bad do I really want this?
Let's go. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what do you want to accomplish as a coach? And do you see yourself like changing careers completely, or are you going to keep the job you have as well?
Oh my gosh, my Wi-Fi is like so upset right now. Can you one more
I can
time?
repeat that. Of course, no problem. I'll repeat anything you need. Do you foresee yourself changing careers, or are you going to continue to do both?
So right now I'll continue to do both. And at the risk of people hearing this, yes, my goal is to actually go into online coaching full time when I can support myself to do that. I've just found that this is more of a calling for me, that I've kind of over time to see that I enjoy it, and that I'm hoping that I can just grow into it a little bit more. And yeah, I'm really just kind of like jumping into it and diving into it with everything I got. That's what I'm doing.
That's what you seem to do in everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And even if it is a risk to share that, I think, because of the type of person you are with the work ethic you have, it doesn't take away from how you show up. And I know a big deal for you is structure. And I'm actually now hoping we can talk about the career you're in as well. Like what inspired you to go down that path, and what does a normal day look like for you to help you maintain these different roles?
Oh my gosh. So actually, my career, my job is I work in research. So I I'm at the National Institutes of Health in the Tuberculosis Research Section, just like you had said. And I do kind of the bench work on like drug discovery for tuberculosis, because it is quite a very big thing in the world still, which we don't hear a lot about in the United States, because it doesn't really happen here, but it happens literally everywhere else outside of the United States. So it is quite a thing in the world still that people don't know about. And so I help with drug discovery. I help with kind of optimizing treatments for that. And so right now, it actually worked out really well because my lab is shut down to do a lot of cleaning and stuff. It's because of the type of, I'm trying to like put this into layman's terms, because it's like, it's kind of weird. If you don't work in research, you wouldn't, it's like kind of weird to explain. So there's different levels of like security in research, and ours is what is called like an ABSL 3. And so we have to wear full like suits and everything to go in there. And so people who are going into like fixed light fixtures and things like that, like we can't do that unless we decontaminate everything and then we like have people go in and fix it. So that, in the simplest terms, our lab is shut down to decontaminate and like have people go into the facility to like fix things that haven't been able to be fixed. And so it actually worked out really well that I work from home right now. A lot of the times, like I'd say like 95% of my job is done from home right now. And I do a lot of like data entry. So any kind of data that we've collected over the years, I'm kind of doing at home. And so that's allowed me over the past few months to have that kind of structure to put more into online coaching and also more into like prep and things like that, that I haven't really had time for in the past. Like I've had to go into every time, like every day into the lab. And now I don't have to do that so much.
Saves you time for sure from the commute and getting ready and
Oh my gosh, it's so nice, especially because like I live like 35 miles away from the National Institutes of Health. So,
oh
and
my
with DC
God.
traffic, it is like insane. Sometimes
That's
it can take me like an hour and 15. If it's a really bad traffic day, it can take me like an hour and a half to get to work. But
wow.
yeah, so I'm very grateful right now for this time.
Oh, I'm sure that's super awesome. And I'm now wondering, I don't think I got your intro wrong, but you went from veterinary work.
Yeah, so I'm a veterinary technician. So I am like a registered veterinary technician. I went to school for it. So you weren't wrong about it. And I still work with animals. I work with like more on the like research side of things. So I do like actual rhesus monkeys, and then rabbits and mice and things like that. So I used to do like emergency work with companion animals. So I like dogs and cats. I did do like a small stint with exotics, but exotics were just not my thing. And so now I'm working in the research side of things. So I am still like a registered veterinary technician.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is so cool. I think what you're doing is really interesting and admirable. And it's fascinating to hear these different parts of you and these different roles that you have in your life that you're fulfilling.
Yeah, yeah. It does like it's very colorful, I'd say.
I love that.
Especially when you like talk about going into online coaching and people are like, wait a minute, but you work with animals and like now you're trying to do coaching. Like, yeah, it doesn't really make sense. But it's in my brain, it makes sense.
That's super cool. Well, I have two questions from listeners that when I kind of structure the interviews, there's sometimes like we've had such a solid flow so far, and these haven't fit in yet somewhere, so they're going to be a bit random.
Okay, sounds good. I'm
Okay,
ready.
cool. So the first one is, what's your favorite meal on prep?
Oh, oh my gosh. I This is such a funny question because I'm deviating a little bit, but we got this protein, not just got it, but like we got this protein that I won't say where from, but Emmett hated it, right? He tasted it and he was like, this is not good. And everybody else said it wasn't good too. And then I tried it and I was like, what are you guys talking about? This is like the best
Oh
thing
no.
ever.
You got the prep taste buds.
Yeah. So it's like, wait, take this with a grain of salt because like these things are gonna sound so gross to people, I'm sure. But okay, so I have a few. I for a while I was doing rice cakes and tuna and avocado, and I would mash the avocado up in the tuna, and I would drain as much, okay, the same thing. I would drain as much water from the tuna as possible. Like I would drain it out, right? And then I would measure it so I get as much tuna as possible, because you don't want to measure water in it. So I'd get as much tuna as possible, mash the avocado up in it, and then I would add water back into it so that I could have it be
More voluminous.
so I could have it be more of like a spread and like more like voluminous maybe, so it could like stick on the rice cake, and then I would have it on the rice cake and I would just eat it like that.
I like the extra length because I've seen people put tuna on a rice cake, but hearing about your process.
And after a while, I actually started to save the tuna juice. So I started to put the tuna juice back in instead of just plain water. So
Oh man.
And then my other favorite meal when I have the macros for it and when I can, like not when I'm like in peak week, because some of these things kind of like give me a little bit of gas, but I like rice, cod, avocado, zucchini, tomato, and sweet potato all mixed together. Yeah, so I actually recently started, not recently, within the past like 8 or so weeks, I think I switched more to like a Mediterranean style diet. And I did that because I had a lot of like digestive problems that were kind of like playing a part. And so I actually cut out a lot of different foods like egg whites and eggs and things like that that might be causing some of my digestive problems. And it seemed to really help me. I implore people, like I really am a big proprietor for that. If you haven't looked up the Mediterranean diet, you should definitely look it up. It helps a lot in prep. It's anti-inflammatory, and it's really helped me through everything. So just decide to look it up for people. So that meal in itself is very Mediterranean. It's very like all the Mediterranean ingredients. And so it actually is really good together. And now cod is my fish of choice. Like I will have cod in like every prep meal. If I can, I would, but I try to like mix up my proteins too. So my third and my last favorite meal is cod, brown rice, and avocado and coconut oil. That's it. Like just mix them together. And it's like so good. The coconut oil in like the rice and the cod is just like, that's it.
I don't eat fish, but I would be putting coconut oil on chicken, and it's like, oh, it's good.
Yes, that too.
Get your chicken kind of like crispy when you shred it, and then you do that.
Speaking to my soul right now. Oh my gosh.
I know it. And honestly, like I think all of those sound really good because I think, after years of this, we just get used to our weird meals.
Yeah. I mean, we just get so like we just get used to the plain stuff, and we find the joy in the plain foods because those are like the things that's just that.
You feel good and you function. And
yes.
I just interviewed another pro, Brooklyn Bade, and she was talking about how she switched over to the Mediterranean diet actually for the same reasons.
Yeah. See, it's like it's very helpful. And I think that it's like a underrated simple change for people. It's not like anything crazy. And I just I know in the Mediterranean diet it says to like not eat poultry as much. It says to like eat poultry like maybe once or twice a week or something. I eat it twice a day. So like it happens, but I think it was just because of like it follows the people in the Mediterranean region and what they used to eat and what they had access to. It's not like they didn't eat it for a specific reason, they just didn't have as much access, or chickens were like expensive, but fish was plentiful, so they had like all this stuff and like fish and shellfish and things like that, but it doesn't make chicken a bad thing. It's just that, yeah, I think the Mediterranean diet as a whole is very underrated for people trying to make a simple switch.
You can tell you're a researcher because you didn't just consider one variable. You're like, there's a lot that could have gone into that outcome.
I did a lot of little reading on it.
So this is the other unrelated question, which is, how did you get comfortable doing your own hair and makeup?
Oh. Ooh, yes, that's actually a really good question. So I do my hair and makeup for all my shows, and it is because one time, I think my first time, I had the I had the lady like spray my face, like literally like spray tan my face, and then like the makeup artist did my makeup and I hated it. And then after that, I was like, I'm gonna try to do my own. And it worked. It was okay. I mean, I wasn't great at it at first, but then over time, I was like, I can't keep paying for, I mean, bless makeup because it really is like a good, I like love all these makeup artists. I like literally love it so much, but I just can't, especially competing so much, I can't spend that much money to like get my hair and my makeup done every single time. So what I did is I set up, this is going to sound so silly. um I would have sessions with myself, like literally just buy like a makeup palette. Like I was really obsessed with like Jeffree Star for a while. Jeffree Star? Yeah. I was obsessed with him for a while, that I bought makeup palettes and I would stay up late, like 1, 2 in the morning doing my makeup as crazy as I could possibly do it off of a YouTube video of somebody else who did their makeup that same way. So I literally just looked up different YouTube videos on how to do eye makeup and like different palettes. Like I also have like the Urban Decay like nude palettes that I was looking up like different ways to do eyeshadows and different ways to do my face and all that. And I literally would sit up late at night just like having a makeup session with myself and like doing my face. And that's kind of how I got to be a little bit more confident in it, where I was like, okay, now I remember how to do something super dramatic. And that's kind of how I did it for show. And this time, like this year for show, it ends up being like a nice little like self session for myself, where I'm like listening to music and I'm just like, I pop the music on and then I start doing my face and I'm like, yeah, like I'm feeling like a bad bitch and I'm just like getting myself together. And yeah, it's just over time where you like, maybe in the off season, you take some time to like kind of get comfortable knowing what looks good on your face, or like take some pictures after you put it on and like take some selfies or something like that, where you're like, you go out, do your face, like do the makeup, do the hair, like make it big, make it crazy, like make how you would do it if you were going on stage, and just kind of like get yourself a little bit more comfortable with it, so that when it comes time to put that makeup on for stage, you've had some time to practice it and it's not just for nothing, you know?
That's a really good tip. And I'm curious, is all your hair natural?
Yes. This is my
Oh
hair.
my
Yeah.
God.
Everybody, that is a question like everybody asks. Yes, this is all of my own hair. And it's actually like straightened. I straighten it a lot because when I don't straighten it, it's like it's big and wavy. But
Wow.
yeah, this is my hair.
When you had I mean, every stage shot, I'm like, her hair is you have big hair. Like you would not need extensions. I thought you had them, honestly.
When I first started, I did put extensions in my hair, and it was horrible because I have thick hair and
Yeah.
I put these clip-in extensions in my hair, and you could tell, I swear, I might post one up somewhere. I'll be like, oh guys, this is what I was talking about, because my
Do
hair
it.
was separated. It was horrible. It looked ugly.
Oh,
And at the end of the night, I remember like how bad my head hurt from like having extensions in. I was like, never again. I'm not doing this anymore.
oh my
So
gosh. I wear them now. I just started in this past season. I have very thin hair and not a lot of it.
yeah.
Um, and I would start wearing the clip-ins, and I'm happy with the investment because it looks so different on stage.
Yeah.
So it's good, but yeah, the pain on my head and then how they get tangled sometimes, like because
Oh,
you're hair artist, I can't do it myself. I tried it for one show.
right. Yeah. Then they
They
have to like
tease it.
tease it and then put it in. Ugh, yeah, it hurts. Ow, hurts so
I
bad.
swear so much hair came out after the last 3 shows I did. I wore them. It was a nightmare.
I have you ever heard of the Halo ones? The ones that
Yeah.
yeah. I've heard of them, but I never tried them. But like I've seen some good results. Maybe next time.
Yeah, part of me regretted not investing in something like that or even looking into Ashley Janelle's
Oh yeah. That would be too. That'd be a good one for sure.
yeah, because her results were really great. So yeah, that might be something I consider in the future. But anyway, we have talked about so much stuff. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you wish I would have?
No, I honestly, we covered so much, and I really I really enjoyed this whole conversation. Like I love getting to share stuff because it's hard on social media where you feel like maybe you don't like I want to share, but you don't know how, it's like, well, I feel like this will be maybe out of place or something. So like I really enjoy getting to do things like this where I can talk about things and kind of share some tips that work for me, and hopefully it helps other people. I really hope that I kind of like can reach some people that might be struggling in some way and maybe get them to think about things a little bit differently from a different light.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So I gotta ask now, what is your best advice for someone who has never competed before but would like to? And then your best advice for someone on their road to pro?
Okay. My best advice for somebody that's never competed before, would be to have fun. Just have fun. Just jump into it. Just have fun. Don't think about consequences or anything like that, because there are none. But just have fun. Don't get too serious about it. It's just at the point of you just like starting, you're just learning. And that's all you have to do. Your job is to learn. Your job is to just have a good time doing it and have a good attitude about it, and just go in with your heart and just have a good time. And then my advice for somebody on the road to pro would be to not compare yourself to anybody else. I think that was kind of a big thing for myself throughout this entire season, was you can't ever compare yourself to anybody in this, because obviously like I've been doing this for 5-6 years, and somebody else who is going pro, maybe they, or just went pro or whatever, maybe they had like immediate success. Maybe they were like, they played sports in high school, or they had like some sort of athletic background that you didn't. And so you can't compare yourself to anybody else's journey. And the biggest thing that I always like want to keep reminding people, and myself included, is that no one is you. So don't compare yourself to anybody else, because no one is you.
I needed that today, by the way.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And I want people able to connect with you, because I guarantee you so many people have probably gained a ton from this and enjoyed hearing your story and your insights. I know I really have, and I'm grateful that I could give you this platform as well. Like, I want to say, you said thank you. I'm saying you're welcome. It's such a pleasure for me. So how can people follow your journey, connect with you, and even inquire about posing coaching or
Yeah.
training and nutrition?
Yeah. So if you just go to my Instagram, ALLYVATTHAUER, Ally Vattauer, there's a link tree on there. You can literally find everything that you need on there. That has the posing sessions, that has the type form for coaching consultation. Everything that you need will be right there.
Awesome. So my assistant will link not just your Instagram, but also that link in your bio, just in case. Yeah, that'll be great. And then that's always on celestial.fit/podcast. So you guys who are listening, it'll be at the top of the page if you're listening right away. If not, scroll down to the category section, which is alphabetized, find Ally's name. And not only will you get all those links, but you're also going to get a summary of the episode. You're going to get full episode bulleted list of topics we covered, as well as the timestamp. So if you are watching this on YouTube, sometimes what happens in the descriptions, you can actually click on the timestamps, which is awesome. So you can go back and listen to your favorite parts, or tell your friends, tell your teammates, like, hey, Ally shared this and I think you would really resonate with it. And you can let them know exactly where to start listening. I, of course, appreciate you guys tuning in every week, or if this is your first time, thank you for being here. I hope you'll come back next week. And Ally, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy we did this.
Me too. And to everyone listening, hope you have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you're in the world while you're listening to this episode. Just make it awesome.